Life is unpredictable. Challenges will come. You will face loss, failure, and moments of despair. But the question is, how will you respond? Will you be consumed by emotions, or will you find strength and resilience? Life presents us with an endless stream of situations, some within our control and many beyond it. The way we respond to these realities determines the quality of our lives. Many people spend their energy trying to bend the world to their will, attempting to change circumstances that are fundamentally outside their influence. They wish away hardships, resist loss, and struggle against the uncontrollable forces of nature, time, and other people's actions. But the more one fights against the inevitable, the more suffering one creates for themselves. True peace, true resilience, and true strength come from recognizing what is within our power and releasing attachment to what is not. At any given moment, you have a choice. You can focus on what you can control: your thoughts, your actions, your perspective, or you can exhaust yourself worrying about things that are simply not in your hands. Consider the weather. If a storm is coming, no amount of resistance, complaining, or wishing will stop the rain from falling. But what you can do is prepare. You can carry an umbrella, take shelter, or even choose to embrace the rain, allowing it to remind you that nature operates beyond human desires. The same applies to life's greater struggles. You cannot control the economy, but you can control how you manage your finances. You cannot prevent people from misunderstanding or criticizing you, but you can control how you respond. You cannot erase past mistakes, but you can control the lessons you take from them and the actions you take moving forward. The moment you shift your attention from external circumstances to internal mastery, you reclaim power over your own life. Much of human suffering arises from resisting reality. People struggle to accept that they cannot change the past, so they dwell on regrets and what-ifs, replaying old mistakes in their minds as if this could alter what has already happened. They wish they could change another person's behavior, so they grow frustrated when others do not meet their expectations. They fear what the future may bring, losing themselves in anxieties over events that may never even occur. This is a battle that can never be won because it is a battle against the nature of life itself. The paradox is that the more one fights against what is beyond control, the more powerless they feel. But the moment they surrender to what is, they gain a sense of inner strength. Acceptance does not mean passivity or weakness. It does not mean resigning yourself to a life of misfortune. Instead, it means directing your energy toward the things that truly matter: your thoughts, your character, and your actions. It means letting go of the illusion that external forces dictate your happiness and realizing that your peace comes from within. Imagine a person who loses their job unexpectedly. They could spend weeks or months consumed by anger, blaming their employer, the economy, or the unfairness of life. They could dwell on the frustration of it all, resenting every moment they are out of work. But this does nothing to change their situation. Alternatively, they could accept the loss, recognize that it has already happened, and then shift their energy toward what they can control, seeking new opportunities, improving their skills, or even using the time to reflect on a different career path. The loss remains the same, but their response to it changes everything. Acceptance is not about giving up, it is about seeing things as they are and acting accordingly. It is about recognizing that in every hardship there is a choice. You can fight against reality, exhausting yourself in a struggle you can never win, or you can acknowledge what is beyond your control and focus on what is within your grasp. Many people waste their lives chasing the approval of others, fearing judgment, and trying to control how they are perceived. But the truth is, no matter what you do, some people will misunderstand you, some will disapprove, some will criticize you unfairly. This is not something you can control, and the sooner you accept it, the sooner you free yourself. What you can control is your own integrity, your own honesty, and your own sense of self-worth. Live by your values, not by the shifting opinions of others, and you will find strength that no external judgment can shake. Another powerful example is in relationships. People often try to control their partners, their friends, or their family members, believing that if only others would act differently, they would be happier. But no one can control another person's choices. You can communicate, you can set boundaries, and you can choose how you respond. But you cannot force someone to be who you want them to be. Clinging to the idea that others must change for you to find peace only leads to frustration. True peace comes from allowing others to be who they are while taking responsibility for your own happiness. In every challenge, the question remains, what can I control? What must I let go of? The more you practice this, the lighter you will feel. Life will still bring difficulties, but they will no longer crush you. You will understand that while storms may rage around you, your mind remains your own. By focusing on what is within your control and accepting what is not, you cultivate a deep inner strength. This does not mean life will be easy. It does not mean there will be no pain. But it does mean that pain will not own you. It means that when hardships arise, you will meet them with wisdom rather than distance. And in doing so, you will discover a kind of freedom that no external force can take away. Life is filled with challenges, obstacles, and setbacks that can feel overwhelming. When difficulties arise, most people react with frustration, fear, or disappointment. They see hardship as a barrier, something that stands in the way of happiness, success, or peace. But what if challenges were not obstacles but stepping stones? What if every difficulty carried within it the opportunity for growth, wisdom, and transformation? The way we perceive hardship shapes our entire experience of life. If we see struggles as punishments, we will resist them, complain about them, and feel like victims. But if we learn to reframe our challenges as opportunities, we open ourselves up to a life of resilience, strength, and continuous self-improvement. The human mind is powerful, but it is also conditioned to seek comfort and avoid pain. When something goes wrong, the natural response is often to dwell on the negative aspects of the situation. A person who loses their job might immediately focus on the fear of financial instability, the frustration of rejection, or the uncertainty of what comes next. But what if that same event was seen as a chance to explore new career paths, develop new skills, or find a job that is more aligned with their passions? The event itself does not change, but the perspective does, and that shift in perspective can make all the difference. Every challenge brings with it a lesson. When a relationship ends, it may feel like a painful loss, but it is also an opportunity to reflect on personal growth, to understand oneself better, and to prepare for a stronger connection in the future. When a business venture fails, it may seem like a setback, but it is also a chance to learn from mistakes, to refine strategies, and to come back stronger with a wiser approach. Those who succeed in life are not those who never face hardships, but those who see hardships as teachers rather than enemies. Adversity introduces a person to their true self. When things are easy, it is simple to remain calm, composed, and optimistic. But when challenges arise, a person's real character is revealed. A difficult situation forces one to dig deep, to find strength they did not know they had, and to develop qualities like patience, perseverance, and courage. Without challenges, there is no growth. Just as a muscle must be strained to become stronger, the mind and spirit must be tested to reach their full potential. Throughout history, many great figures have faced immense struggles, yet they used those struggles as fuel for their success. Whether it was overcoming personal hardship, financial ruin, or repeated failures, they saw each setback not as a reason to quit, but as an opportunity to learn, adapt, and improve. This mindset is not reserved for the extraordinary few. It is a way of thinking that anyone can adopt. Consider a person who experiences a major disappointment, such as being passed over for a promotion at work. Their immediate reaction might be anger or discouragement. They might feel that their efforts have been wasted or that they are not valued. But if they choose to reframe the situation, they might see it as a sign to improve certain skills, to seek out new opportunities, or to reassess whether they are in the right place. Instead of focusing on what they lost, they can focus on what they can gain from the experience. This shift in perspective transforms a moment of defeat into a moment of empowerment. Hardships also teach adaptability. Life is unpredictable, and rigid thinking only leads to frustration. When people learn to see challenges as opportunities, they become more flexible, more creative, and more open to change. They begin to understand that setbacks are not the end of the road, but a redirection towards something better. Even the most difficult circumstances can lead to unexpected opportunities, new perspectives, and personal breakthroughs. Many people resist challenges because they fear failure. But failure is not the opposite of success. it is part of the process. Every mistake, every setback, and every disappointment carries valuable information. It reveals weaknesses that need strengthening, strategies that need adjusting, and paths that need reconsideration. Those who embrace failure as a teacher rather than a punishment become unstoppable, because they no longer see challenges as threats, but as necessary steps on the journey to mastery. The key to reframing challenges as opportunities is to shift the focus from what is lost to what can be gained. It requires a conscious effort to stop seeing problems as roadblocks and start seeing them as stepping stones. It means asking the right questions rather than "Why is this happening to me?" Ask "What can I learn from this?" Instead of "Why is life so unfair?" Ask "How can this experience make me stronger?" In the end, challenges are not there to break us but to shape us. Those who learn to embrace difficulties with a mindset of growth and opportunity will find that no setback is permanent, no failure is final, and no hardship is without purpose. Life will always present obstacles, but how one chooses to see them will determine whether they become burdens or blessings. Emotions are a fundamental part of being human. They give color to our experiences, connect us to others, and help us navigate the complexities of life. However, when emotions take control, they can cloud judgment, lead to impulsive actions, and create unnecessary suffering. Mastering emotions does not mean suppressing them or pretending they do not exist. Instead, it means developing the ability to observe them, understand them, and respond to them with wisdom rather than impulse. Many people believe they are at the mercy of their emotions, reacting automatically to whatever feelings arise. When anger flares up, they lash out. When fear takes hold, they shrink away. When sadness comes, they let it consume them. But emotions are not absolute commands, they are signals. They indicate something about a situation, but they do not dictate how one must respond. The difference between a person who is controlled by emotions and one who masters them is the ability to pause, reflect, and choose the right course of action, rather than being swept away by a fleeting feeling. Consider anger. It is a natural reaction to perceived injustice, betrayal, or frustration. When unchecked, it can lead to words spoken in haste, decisions made in fury, and actions that bring regret. A person controlled by anger will find themselves constantly at war with the world, lashing out at others and escalating conflicts. However, a person who has mastered their emotions will recognize anger when it arises, acknowledge its presence, and use reason to determine the best response. Instead of being ruled by the emotion, they use it as information, perhaps a sign that something needs to be addressed, but always in a measured and thoughtful way. Fear is another powerful emotion that can either protect or paralyze. It is essential for survival, alerting people to danger and encouraging caution. But when fear is allowed to take control, it prevents growth. Fear of failure stops people from taking risks. Fear of rejection holds them back from meaningful connections. Fear of uncertainty keeps them trapped in situations that do not serve them. Those who master their emotions recognize fear as a natural response, but do not allow it to dictate their lives. They feel the fear, acknowledge its presence, and move forward anyway. Sadness and grief are emotions that everyone will experience at some point. When someone suffers a loss, whether it is the loss of a loved one, a dream, or a relationship, sadness is a natural response. Ignoring or suppressing it is not mastery, it is avoidance. However, allowing it to completely take over, sinking into despair without end, is also not mastery. The key is to allow emotions to be felt without letting them define one's entire existence. A person who has developed emotional mastery will acknowledge their sadness, give themselves time to grieve, but also recognize that life continues and that healing is a choice. One of the most effective ways to master emotions is to cultivate self-awareness. Many people go through life reacting emotionally without ever questioning why they feel a certain way. But taking a moment to pause and examine the emotion can be transformative. Where is this emotion coming from? Is it based on reality or perception? Is it helpful or harmful? These questions create a space between feeling and action, allowing for a more deliberate response. Breathing techniques, meditation, and mindfulness practices are powerful tools for mastering emotions. When an intense emotion arises, simply taking a few deep breaths can create the space needed to prevent an impulsive reaction. Meditation trains the mind to observe emotions without immediately reacting to them, building a sense of calm and control. Practicing mindfulness, staying present in the moment, rather than being carried away by thoughts of the past or future, helps prevent unnecessary emotional turmoil. Another important aspect of emotional mastery is recognizing the temporary nature of emotions. Feelings are like the weather, sometimes stormy, sometimes calm, always changing. The moment of anger, fear, or sadness may feel overwhelming, but it will pass. When a person understands this, they no longer feel consumed by emotions because they know that no feeling lasts forever. Instead of making permanent decisions based on temporary emotions, they learn to wait, reflect, and act with wisdom. Relationships are often where emotional mastery is tested most. People who are easily offended, quick to argue, or unable to control their emotions in conflicts often struggle in their interactions with others. Emotional mastery does not mean avoiding confrontation, but rather approaching it with clarity and control. When someone says something hurtful, the immediate reaction may be to retaliate. But a person who has mastered their emotions will pause, consider the situation, and choose a response that aligns with their values rather than their momentary feelings. Life will always bring challenges, and emotions will always be part of the experience. But those who learn to master their emotions gain an incredible advantage. They become less reactive and more thoughtful. They make decisions based on wisdom rather than impulse. They experience emotions fully but do not allow them to dictate their actions. In doing so, they create a life of greater peace, stability, and strength. Comfort is a natural human desire. People seek warmth in the cold, food when they are hungry, and shelter from the elements. Modern life, with all its conveniences, has made it easier than ever to avoid discomfort. Food is readily available, climate control ensures ideal temperatures, and entertainment is just a click away. While these advancements have improved the quality of life, they have also led to a widespread avoidance of anything uncomfortable. People become less willing to endure hardships, less capable of handling challenges, and more fragile in the face of adversity. This is why practicing voluntary discomfort is essential. It builds resilience, strengthens the mind, and prepares individuals to face life's inevitable difficulties with courage. Voluntary discomfort is the act of deliberately stepping outside one's comfort zone, exposing oneself to controlled hardship, and training the mind and body to endure difficulties. It is not about seeking suffering for its own sake, but about using discomfort as a tool for growth. When one willingly experiences small hardships, they become more capable of handling greater ones. Life is unpredictable, and adversity will come whether one is prepared or not. Those who have never tested their ability to endure discomfort may find themselves overwhelmed by even minor struggles. But those who have trained themselves to be comfortable with discomfort will remain steady when challenges arise. One way to practice voluntary discomfort is by occasionally going without luxuries that have become routine. Skipping a meal, taking a cold shower, or sleeping on the floor may seem unnecessary when comfort is readily available, but these small acts strengthen discipline. They remind individuals that they do not need as much as they think they do, and they build confidence in their ability to endure temporary discomfort. When someone chooses to go hungry for a short period, they realize that hunger is not as unbearable as they once thought. When they take a cold shower, they experience the initial shock but soon find that they can adapt. These small experiences build mental toughness, which carries over into other areas of life. Physical challenges are another powerful way to practice voluntary discomfort. Pushing the body beyond its perceived limits through exercise, endurance training, or manual labor develops both physical and mental strength. A person who trains themselves to run longer distances, lift heavier weights, or endure more physical strain is not only improving their body but also training their mind to push through discomfort. This translates into everyday life. When faced with a difficult task, they do not shy away from effort because they have already proven to themselves that they can handle it. Those who avoid physical discomfort often find themselves unprepared for moments that require strength and endurance, while those who embrace it develop a sense of resilience that extends far beyond the gym or training ground. Emotional and social discomfort are just as important to embrace. Many people fear difficult conversations, rejection, or situations where they might be embarrassed. By deliberately placing themselves in uncomfortable social situations, speaking in front of a group, initiating conversations with strangers, or asking for something they might not receive, they build confidence. The fear of embarrassment or rejection loses its power over them. They realize that discomfort is temporary and that they are capable of handling it. This practice makes them more adaptable, more fearless, and more willing to take risks that lead to growth. Discomfort also strengthens gratitude. When people always have access to comfort, they take it for granted. A person who has never been without food does not fully appreciate a meal. Someone who has always had a warm bed may not realize its value. By voluntarily experiencing discomfort, even briefly, appreciation for life's simple pleasures grows. This leads to greater happiness, not because life becomes easier, but because one learns to find joy in what was once overlooked. The ability to endure hardship while maintaining gratitude is a powerful skill that makes even the most difficult times more bearable. Training oneself to embrace discomfort does not mean seeking misery or denying oneself all comforts. It means developing the strength to face life with resilience rather than fear. When a person deliberately exposes themselves to manageable hardship, they become stronger, more adaptable, and more confident in their ability to handle whatever life brings. Those who practice voluntary discomfort gain the ability to remain calm under pressure, face challenges with courage, and live without being controlled by the pursuit of ease. In a world that constantly seeks comfort, choosing discomfort is a path to true strength. Life is fleeting. No matter how much wealth, power, or success a person accumulates, no one can escape the reality of mortality. Yet in the modern world, death is often avoided as a topic of discussion. People distract themselves with work, entertainment, and endless pursuits, rarely pausing to consider the impermanence of life. But acknowledging the certainty of death is not a morbid or depressing practice. It is a tool for gaining perspective, prioritizing what truly matters, and living with greater purpose. The concept of Memento Mori, which translates to remember you must die, serves as a reminder that time is limited and should not be wasted on trivial concerns. When people forget their mortality, they often become consumed by worries that, in the grand scheme of things, hold little importance. They stress over minor inconveniences, hold grudges over small disagreements, and chase material possessions as if they will bring lasting happiness. But when viewed through the lens of mortality, many of these concerns lose their power. A missed opportunity, a moment of embarrassment, or a financial setback may seem devastating in the moment, but when compared to the finality of death, they shrink in significance. Keeping the perspective of Memento Mori allows one to let go of unnecessary worries and focus on what truly matters, living with integrity, strengthening relationships, and making the most of each moment. Awareness of death also brings clarity to decision-making. When faced with a difficult choice, one can ask, if today were my last day, what would I regret? This question cuts through distractions and reveals true priorities. Many people spend years pursuing careers they do not enjoy, staying in relationships that do not fulfill them, or delaying their dreams for a future that feels guaranteed. Remembering that time is finite encourages action. It inspires people to take risks, express their true feelings, and pursue paths that align with their deepest values. Procrastination loses its appeal when one acknowledges that tomorrow is never promised. Memento Mori is not just about recognizing that life is short, it is also about using that recognition to live more fully. Many people assume that thinking about death leads to fear, but in reality, it often leads to courage. Fear of failure, rejection, or embarrassment becomes insignificant when compared to the inevitability of death. Knowing that life will end removes many of the self-imposed barriers that prevent people from fully experiencing the world. Those who embrace this mindset are more likely to take meaningful action, speak their minds, and pursue their passions without hesitation. This perspective also fosters gratitude. When someone realizes that every moment is temporary, they begin to appreciate even the simplest experiences. A conversation with a loved one, the warmth of the sun on a cool morning, or the sound of laughter becomes more precious. Many people move through life without truly seeing the beauty in everyday moments, but Memento Mori serves as a reminder to be fully present. It shifts the focus from what is lacking to what is already here, creating a deeper sense of contentment and appreciation for life as it is. Another powerful effect of this perspective is the way it transforms relationships. Petty arguments, grudges, and misunderstandings seem far less important when one remembers that time with loved ones is limited. People often assume they will have endless opportunities to apologize, reconnect, or express love, but life does not guarantee that chance. Remembering mortality encourages kindness, patience, and forgiveness. It reminds people to say what needs to be said, to show appreciation while they still can, and to prioritize the people who truly matter. Even in the face of hardships, Memento Mori provides strength. When experiencing loss, failure, or difficulty, keeping the bigger picture in mind helps to endure suffering with grace. Pain is temporary, and even the most challenging moments will pass. Just as life itself is impermanent, so too are the struggles within it. This perspective does not eliminate suffering, but it allows one to face it with greater resilience, knowing that both joy and pain are part of the same fleeting existence. Accepting mortality does not mean giving up on life, it means embracing it fully. Those who live with this awareness are not paralyzed by fear, but are instead driven by purpose. They do not waste time on meaningless distractions, but invest their energy in what truly matters. They do not postpone happiness for some distant future, but find joy in the present. Rather than fearing death, they use it as motivation to live with intention, wisdom, and gratitude. In remembering that life is temporary, they ensure that the time they have is spent well. Living a life based on virtue rather than seeking approval from others is a path to true fulfillment. Many people spend their lives trying to meet the expectations of society, their peers, or even strangers. They shape their choices based on how they will be perceived rather than on what is right. While external validation can provide temporary satisfaction, it is fleeting and unreliable. The opinions of others change, and no amount of approval can bring lasting contentment if one's actions are not aligned with their own values. By living with virtue, choosing what is right over what is popular, one cultivates inner strength, self-respect, and a deep sense of purpose. Seeking approval is a trap because it places happiness and self-worth in the hands of others. When someone bases their decisions on gaining admiration, they become enslaved to public opinion. They hesitate to speak their mind for fear of judgment. They make choices that please others but leave them feeling empty. They conform to expectations even when those expectations do not align with their true selves. This constant pursuit of validation leads to anxiety, insecurity, and a life dictated by external forces rather than personal conviction. Virtue, on the other hand, is a stable foundation. It is not dependent on trends, social status, or the shifting preferences of the crowd. A person who lives with virtue does what is right because it is right, not because it will be praised. They act with honesty even when lying would be easier. They show kindness even when there is no reward. They pursue excellence not for recognition, but because striving to be better is a worthwhile endeavor. This kind of integrity builds self-respect, which is far more valuable than fleeting admiration. One of the dangers of seeking approval is that it often leads to compromising one's principles. People may betray their beliefs to fit in, tell others what they want to hear rather than the truth, or remain silent in the face of wrongdoing to avoid conflict. This not only weakens character but also creates inner turmoil. A person who constantly seeks approval may appear successful or well-liked, but they often feel disconnected from their true selves. The more they rely on external validation, the less they trust their own judgment. Living with virtue requires courage. It means being willing to stand alone if necessary. It means making decisions based on wisdom and integrity rather than on how they will be perceived. Those who prioritize virtue over approval may face criticism or rejection, but they also gain something far more valuable, a sense of peace. They do not have to constantly adjust themselves to please others, nor do they have to live in fear of losing admiration. Their confidence comes from within, rooted in the knowledge that they are living according to their own values. Virtue also leads to genuine relationships. When people seek approval, their connections are often shallow, based on pleasing others rather than on authentic understanding. But when a person acts with integrity, they attract others who respect them for who they truly are. Relationships built on honesty and mutual respect are far more fulfilling than those based on seeking validation. Those who live with virtue do not need to pretend or perform to be accepted. They are valued for their character, not for their ability to meet others' expectations. Another benefit of living with virtue is the freedom it brings. When someone no longer relies on external validation, They are free to pursue what truly matters to them. They can take risks, follow their passions, and stand by their convictions without being paralyzed by the fear of judgment. They understand that no matter how hard they try, they will never please everyone, so they focus instead on being the best version of themselves. This mindset leads to a life of authenticity and fulfillment rather than one of constant comparison and insecurity. True success is not measured by applause or recognition, but by the ability to look back on life with a clear conscience. Those who live for approval may gain status or popularity, but they often find themselves feeling empty because they have sacrificed their values along the way. Those who live with virtue, however, find contentment in knowing they have done what is right, regardless of whether anyone was watching. They build a life of meaning, one that is not dependent on approval but on a commitment to principles that stand the test of time. In the end, the choice is simple: live for the fleeting praise of others, or live with unwavering integrity. The former brings temporary satisfaction but constant anxiety, while the latter brings lasting fulfillment and self-respect. Those who choose virtue over approval may not always be the most celebrated, but they will always be the most at peace. The world will always have opinions, expectations, and shifting standards, but true fulfillment does not come from the approval of others, it comes from living with integrity. A life built on virtue is unshakable, free from the need for constant validation. When you choose to do what is right, not because it is easy or popular, but because it aligns with your deepest values, you gain something far greater than applause: self-respect, inner peace, and a legacy of authenticity. So stand firm in your principles, act with wisdom, and remember that true success is not measured by how many people approve of you, but by how honestly and courageously you have lived.